it's spring. Actually, it's not spring here. It's summer. Spring kind of came and went very fast. It sprung. It leapt. It went. It was gone before we knew it was here. But the one thing that it did bring with it was brightness, lightness, and that interesting, sad thing, seasonal affective disorder, kind of goes away when you're in the bright, sunshiny things. Now, this is fine for the rest of the world, possibly, but in Scotland, it can tend to hang around a little bit. Because most of April was quite dim, with various flurries of horizontal rain. So sad was still kind of around. But we're going to be talking a little bit about that and probably going off on a tangent because, you know, if you've been watching this, you'll know that happens a lot. So let's introduce everybody. We'll start with Mary.
I'm Mary Corbett. I'm a coach. I'm based in Ireland. I'm down in County of Cork. And yes, we have had a spring of grey. And I am very delighted to say the sun is shining right now, although there are some thunderstorms forecast. So hopefully not before the end of this evening's session.
So kind of 50 Shades or something less interesting.
Well, usually what we say is we have four seasons in every hour. A more accurate description. I don't even go for 4 seasons in a day. More 4 seasons in an hour. So the impact of the weather has been quite telling this year. Been quite interesting. So I'm looking forward to this evening.
Tanys, how about you?
I'm Tanys Coughlan. I'm from Ottawa in Canada, and I am a Reiki Master, Celtic Shamanic High Priestess, and I do energy stuff and crystal stuff, and I help people with their spiritual journey.
Cool. Tony!
Hello, everybody. My name's Tony Gordon, and I'm also from the very dim and grey Scotland as well. I'm a mindset coach. So really what I do is I help people to get out of their own minds by making fear their friend.
Jennifer.
In Ottawa, you guys don't hear me?
You know,
do hear.
Yeah, we do.
Okay, that was weird. I have sound issues and I need to talk up. Yeah, I am a registered psychotherapist, a certified Canadian counselor, intuitive life coach. I do energy healing work, and I am in the Ottawa area, which is also pretty overcast at the moment.
Angela.
Hi, I'm Angela Daye, and I'm going to buck the trend and say while I'm in Scotland, the sun is shining, as you can see on the curtains. It's lovely here. And I think it was about 18 degrees earlier, which is unheard of at this time of year. But it's been lovely. So I work with a lot of energy stuff as well. So whether it's kinesiology or bioenergetics, whichever flavor you prefer, wherever you are in the world. And I use that to help people to just feel better in their skin, figure out what's going on for them, and ask their body what's really going on, and then move towards a point where people are going from that horrible yuckiness to feeling okay. And once they get to okay, we decide, do we want to work towards awesome? And then we do that too.
Right. And I'm Leslie Marsh, and yes, it was sunny earlier today. It's kind of gone off a bit. And while it was sunny, I was binging about a little bit like Tiger on speed. So we're still dealing with a little bit of that aftermath. So forgive me for that, because I might be speaking a little bit faster than normal. But actually, that's normal for me.
I'm still exhausted from dealing with you.
Yeah, but then that happens. That happens. I'm an energy manifestor, it turns out, or a manifesting generator or something like that. Anyway, there's a lot of stuff going on. There's a lot of stuff going on, and particularly when it's sunny. So when it's not sunny and I'm still stuck indoors and doing stuff, I'm dealing with coaching and hypnotherapy and Reiki. I've actually been saying that I'm doing my Reiki animal master teacher exam thing going on, of course. So yeah, there's a lot going on. Always trying to do something to make things interesting in life, and understanding that everybody else's energy is not always the same. But sometimes we're a little bit late and sometimes we're not. Sometimes we're on time. And it's one of those things that we're about to find out where Willie's been. Willie, Who are you and where have you been?
Well, apart from the fact my memory is going, cut a very long story short, I cracked 3 ribs last week.
Oh,
I'm on some heavy painkillers, including morphine. So if I seem a wee bit gaga, that's the reason. So my apologies for being late.
I love how you've got an actual excuse as opposed to Leslie just being Leslie.
No, I'm in some discomfort. The medication makes me feel a wee bit kind of. So I'll do my best.
yeah, I feel like that in the morning, but it's actually just because I'm me. So we're going to be talking about spring and the fact that seasonality can sometimes cause us to be a little bit moody, depending on how we are connected to the seasonal changes. Now, I'm wondering also if the fact that our seasonal changes seem to be being rushed in one hand and the earth is trying to catch up, if that might be part of the imbalance as well. Tanys, what do you think about that?
Well, I think there's all sorts of changes going on the earth. Definitely like Schumann resonance is up and down a lot. We have a baseline for that of 7.8 hertz. That actually measures the vibration of the earth itself. And we've had spikes and full days up at like 75, 90 in the last little while. And of course, we've got a lot of solar flares coming at us too, which also really affects our mood and all of those things, the energy of the collective, because we have a lot going on with the collective as well. So there's a lot happening in the world.
Yeah. Tony, how are things with you in that department?
I think you said that, Leslie, as well, is that it seems to be this year, especially because the weather seems such a big impact, that it's been difficult to tell which season's been which. Usually you identify the winter as being the colder, the snow, ice, or that. Then you start coming into the spring, nice and light, but we haven't really had that. They've all seemed to meld into one so far this year. And I think maybe, like as Tanya's just alluded to, there's a lot of other things going on because there's a lot of what seems to be more illnesses of that's going around that doesn't seem to be going away, that people seem to keep having at the moment. So I think, yeah, it's been a really difficult start to the year for a lot of people, which hopefully can start changing now. For the next part of it, as you said, as we go into the next section, the next season, that they start lifting a little bit for people.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting kind of hingy things, as we call them. They're a bit hingy. It means they're hanging and it's just hanging around. But the interesting thing also about here particularly, because here is where we know, is that we enjoy the idea of the rain when we think about the fact that us getting washed a lot means that we're very green. Everything grows very well when it finally does, stop flooding. Mary.
I used to be the sort of person who used to think I used to create sunshine bubbles around myself. In fact, I still do. And I used to think that if the weather is bad, you should not get out of bed, open curtains if that's your notion, and look at it and say, oh, it's going to be a bad day, it's grey. I could not see the logic of this. And so I began this practice many years ago where I would actually have a sunshine bubble. I would spend a few minutes just imagining I was going around in a bubble of sunshine. And I would get up with a smile on my face. And I would continue to have that smile on my face regardless of the rain. So I was the antithesis of believing that the actual light outside had an impact. I used to think, well, use your brain, use your mindset, decide what mood you're going to be in and create your own sunshine. However, I'm a little older now and I'm a little wiser now, I hope. And I think there might be something in it. And I would say I have a son who moved from Ireland to Spain. He has not had, and obviously the light in Spain is a hell of a lot brighter than it is in Ireland. And he is very clear that he does not have the same mood shifts that he used to have in Ireland. Now, is it the light or is it that he's just enjoying living in Spain? That's the moot point. We could be dealing with either. But he believes that the light is actually part of what helps him. So I am gradually becoming more aware that the level of light and the quality of the light we expose ourselves to matters.
Yeah, I had a doctor who said to me when I was moving to France, he said, well, Leslie, we'll soon find out if you actually have SAD. Because if you do, it won't be happening while you're there. I was there for 5 years, never had a problem. Jennifer.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. You know, we talk about the oneness of everything and how interconnected we are, and we talk about the rhythms of nature and the impact that that has on us and our well-being. And then we look at all of the changes, right? Everything that used to be very consistent and reliable is now changing. And the body is kind of going, what on earth do I do with this? Right? It's spring 1 minute and then it's snowing again. And then it's almost summertime weather. And then it's back to, right? And so we don't have the capacity like we used to really flow with those natural rhythms because everything is changing and shifting. And there's been a lot of studies done that show these changes in pressure and the impact that they have on our bodies. I, for one, know that I'm more susceptible to headaches when we have that barometric pressure change, right? And so when we talk about like what we feel in the body, pain, chronic pain, all of that is impacted by the weather. And so when we look at this idea of, you know, just light on our mood, but also like all of the changes when we're really overcast, when it's really humid, when there's a lot of pressure in the atmosphere, all of those things are impacting us and our well-being.
And
We're
just to
connected.
add to that, you know, the solar flares that I was talking about earlier, those affect all of those things that you're talking about, Jennifer, in terms of, you know, the pressures and all of that. When we have a lot of those, we get those headaches and that pressure that we feel because the earth is changing how it's moving and stuff. So I just wanted to make that little connection.
Willie, how are you doing down there?
Apart from my crack nose, I'm doing very well, thanks. I subscribe to the view that the weather does have a huge impact on our moods and our mindset. For example, today being the 1st of May, my wife showed me some video from Glastonbury with people celebrating Beltane, which I understand is the change of year, and it's now things are going to grow again and we're all going to prosper. I was out on my deck this afternoon and it was very, very warm. So I was enjoying the sunshine, and it does lift your mood because in Scotland, as most of us in this call know, it can be bloody miserable and that can deflate your mood. So the sunshine, I think, is a big factor. And I do agree with Mary, whenever I go abroad, I used to go to Spain quite a lot, you could just tell the difference. So SAD, seasonal affective disorder, I happen to think that there is some validity in that, because this year the winter has been absolutely miserable, and it can drag you down when you've got like 10 days of consistent rain and you think, oh my goodness, when is this ever going to end? But today in sunny Scotland, for some bizarre reason, it's been warm, it's been very, very pleasant, and you can feel, well, I can feel, maybe it's my old bones, cracked or otherwise, you can feel your mood lifting with the heat getting into your body and the sun in your face, and you think, you know what, maybe life ain't so bad after all. So that's my take on it.
It's amazing how a little bit of sun works here, particularly. But then again, this could be our 1 week of summer this year. Angela.
It's really interesting listening to everyone else's experiences and thoughts, but I don't think I'm aware of any changes in me with the weather being bad or good or indifferent. And I think it's perhaps it's more about what I'm doing that day. So if I've got nothing on and the weather's dreadful, it doesn't affect me because I'm not going out to go and have to walk in the rain. If I'm going out and about and the weather's rotten, then I might be a bit more grumpy because I'm going to get actually physically wet. But then again, it depends on who I'm out with. So for me, I don't seem to have that awareness, perhaps, rather than I'm not affected by it. I don't have the awareness that I'm affected by it. And when Tanys was talking about the solar flares, the only thing that the solar flares affect is I get really, really annoyed that I get the red alert on my phone and I can't go out and get it in my camera, because if I look north, I see Glasgow lights, but I've got to have to drive for half an hour. And by the time I get there, the red alert's gone. So that's when I get annoyed with the solar flares. It's not anything else other than I'm on a mission. I will find the northern lights. And it's twice now this year and last year, big massive patch of red alerts. The week before I was in Inverness, not the week I was there, the week before. So that's the only thing that affects me from that perspective, again, that I'm aware of, because I don't tend to dwell on it or focus on that as being the reason. I do have a number of clients who come to me with symptoms of SAD, and it is horrible for them, and I totally understand that it's a very real thing, and working through that with them can have some massive impacts. I'm just maybe thankful that I'm not aware.
It's a hibernation thing. It's almost like
Yeah,
you
but I
want
can
to. You
hibernate
just
in the
want to hibernate.
sunshine.
Yeah, this is it. We can all hibernate anytime we want to, anytime we feel the need. However, I think your reticular activating system, when it's not being pinged quite as well as it could be for some of us, it's a case of, no, it's time just to go back to sleep. It's nice and cozy in this bed. I'm at that perfect moment, temperature, position, and I am not moving for anybody, because this is how bears do it, and I'm going to be a bear today. I was decided I'm going to be a bear, so I'm going to stay there. And I think sometimes, perhaps what we're looking at also, like Mary has said, like Willie said, like Tony said, like actually we've all said it in one way or another, how we appreciate it, how we perceive what's going on, what it is that we do when we open those curtains in the morning and go, dear, or we go, oh, look at that. I could do this, I could do that, I could do the other. That'd be great. And that is the little runaway horse that comes in with the thought when we see the light, what kind of grade of light we're looking at will depend on how we perceive that day is going to go. And therefore, that's how it will go. Yeah. Because we're manifesting. So getting our clients to get out of the doldrums is another weather pattern for you. In case you didn't know, the doldrums is a kind of place where there's no wind. And ships are just still little yachty things with sails don't work because there's no wind. And that's the doldrums. Being in the doldrums. There's nowhere to go. So basically, when they're in the place where there's nothing to shift their mood, there's nothing to blow the cobwebs away, what are we doing, Angela? How are we getting them to do it?
As all my teachers tell me, I work my menu. I go where the body asks me to go. And actually taking my biases out. So as I said, I'm not aware of these changes in my body. That doesn't matter when I'm working with the clients, because it's not about me. And it is purely just working through what that client's body is asking for at that time. And it might ask for something that's very specific to those symptoms. That might not be the actual problem. The problem could be something completely something else. And it's manifesting in that way. And it's about clearing out whatever the block is for the client. So it's difficult to say, I'm going to do this, that, and the next thing, because every client comes with a different shopping list. And they go round my menu the way they go around a supermarket and pick what they want off the shelves.
It's an interesting idea. Supermarket shopping for things that are not usually found in the supermarket. Unless, of course, it's the thing that you're going around and it makes you feel comfortable when you eat it for a second. And then you suddenly realise you shouldn't have done that. But of course,
that's a whole other conversation.
Yeah, that's feeding something that's being affected by perhaps SAD or similar. And we can choose substitutes. Yeah, Mary.
I do think that I do now believe, yes, there is a genuine thing of people being affected by light. I don't feel I would majorly affected, but I also think there's that contributory piece that what do you do with your thoughts when you are aware of it, and where does that your mind take you? So assuming like it, we can say if I'm at home, it doesn't matter what the weather is. If I'm going out, I've so much extra planning to do if it's going to be wet. But we can, if we get stuck in a belief system, well, I suffer from SADS, therefore I will be upset and I will be depressed and I will be this. And it may also become in part a self-fulfilling prophecy that they convince themselves. They may not have it. Now, I'm not denying that it exists. I'm saying it becomes really important how they think about it once they have that diagnosis,
And I
because
think,
those thoughts are powerful.
and I think we've mentioned on this before, the fact that when someone's given a label, they become the label. So that's the thing for me that's so important, and it depends on the person's situation. I had one recently though, a lovely lady, but she's housebound. So she couldn't go out anywhere. So her main thing is opening the curtains up every day to see what it's like. And she tried all different light therapy was a great thing. It did work a little bit for her. She had a little light box that put on in the morning. I think it was about 30 minutes, and it would G up her day just because she had that. But what really worked with her was some simple, was just taking away in little vacations in her mind. So we made up some MP3s that took her to her favourite places she couldn't go to anymore. So we did one fun off at Maze mentioned, it was in Spain. There's a little place called the TIC in Spain. There's a little coastal place that she loved. So we did a little MP3 for there. We did one visit her family she can't get to anymore in Australia. So just pick some things on it, did a little MP3 up. Whenever she feels down, she just puts these on and just imagines she's there. She just goes to these places. But it helped her to get out that house. So she's not always looking out the window and seeing what it's like. And it just made her feel good. And funny enough, one of the ones she wanted was, when she was talking about going to Spain, was actually rain in Spain. Because when she had it, the warm rain just made her take away from the feeling of the cold rain that she has looking out her window. So she remembered days when she used to love just walking along a promenade and it was raining in Spain, but you didn't bother because you knew within half an hour of the rain stopping, you were going to be dry all over again. So it didn't make any difference. So it didn't affect her. So that was her way of dealing with it, which I thought was a fantastic way.
I think there's a song about that, is there not, as well?
Oh yeah.
Was everyone singing in their heads when Tony was talking?
Yes, the rain in Spain. Yes.
Seeing
think-
Audrey Hepburn and everybody else in the film at the same time. Yeah.
I think a lot of it's down to it's mindset.
Mhm.
So I talk to clients about the mindset, and I actually tell the story when you draw the curtains and the rain's pouring down and the wind's blowing it horizontally, and your mind immediately goes to negative thoughts. Oh my goodness, look at the weather. Oh, I'm going to wait, going to work, my car won't start. I'll need to take a bus. The buses won't run because the roads are flooded. You kind of catastrophize right away. I came up with a little acronym called TEAR, TEAR. Thoughts and emotions create actions, which engender results. So if you wake up in that mindset, you wake up, see the weather and have that mindset. So if that happens to me and I run down the stairs and I fall at my wife and I kick the dog and I run out the door in a very bad mood, am I going to have a good day? Probably not. However, if I choose, because we always have a choice, not to think that way and say, well, it rains in Scotland. My skin is waterproof. I'll be okay. My car will start. I'll get to work, no bother. We'll have a laugh at this, having a coffee. And I run downstairs and I kiss my wife goodbye, pat the dog, and go out in a good mood. Well, I'll have a good day. The chances are much higher then. All because I deliberately chose not to go down the negative route and decided to get down a more positive route. I appreciate it's not as simple as clicking your fingers, but that TER, if you remember that, you don't have to have a negative day because of the thoughts and emotions created by the bad weather. And you can apply that across the board to all sorts of negativity, not just the weather. So if you accept the fact that you can't control the weather, which I can't, even I can't do that, accept the fact the weather is the weather and just get on with it. And this is a learning curve because I had to learn to do this, as opposed to previously when I'd curse and swear and kick things up and down because the weather was bad, to realise how stupid is that, Willie? You can't control the weather. You're not King Canute, you can't control the waves. Accept what is and get on with it. But what you always can do is control how you react to that thing that you can't control, the weather. You can always choose how you react to it. And if it's raining, it's raining. Can't do anything about it. Just get on with it as best you can. And that little acronym seems to kind of land with people. Oh, thoughts, emotions, actions, results. Right. And we are driven by our thoughts and emotions, which cause us to behave in a particular manner. And it's going to go one of two ways, either good or bad.
This is
I
it
think
though,
on
Willie.
that
I
one,
think
Willie, as well, I was just say on that one is you might have had that scenario one where you've got to the front door and everything's gone wrong. You can still change it at that point. So even if something goes wrong, you don't have to say, well, the whole day's a write-off. I've got to wait till I go to bed and sleep on it, and tomorrow it'll be better. You can change it from now. So as soon as you become aware of it, go through that little acronym and actually work out, I don't have to have a continuing bad day. I'm going to stop here. I'm going to reset it. I'm going to have a state change, and it might just be standing up and giving yourself a full body shake or a cross crawl or whatever works for you. But it doesn't have to be the entire day is going to follow the same pattern. You can change it from when you notice it.
that's what I was going to say. The most important word, I think, in what Willie was saying there was choice. You can choose. And it's got to do with the idea that people don't realize that they can actually choose to shift their energy to make sure that they can act, once they recognize that they're in a total, they can actually turn around and say, hang on a minute, what am I doing? I can think about something else. Scarlett O'Hara, I'll think about that tomorrow.
And, we think about emotions, that emotions are just energy. And so anytime we can, manage our energy, which we do even with our thoughts. So even with the mindset, thinking about the rain, what about thinking about the rain as cleansing? Going out in the rain and cleansing the energy field of all of that, then we can think about it in a more positive way and connecting with the earth with the rain in that way. It can be cleansing in that. And, we also have to think about the vitamin D aspect with the sun. We do get vitamin D when the sun's shining. So if we're in a darker period of the year, supplementing with vitamin D and stuff, if your doctor recommends, that can help as well. I'm not a doctor nor a supplement specialist. I know that we get natural vitamin D from the sun. So it's a nice way to supplement that. And so it is about mindsets, right? And energy and all of those things.
I find that interesting as well, because a little while ago I found out that if you take mushrooms that you buy at the supermarket even and put them on your windowsill, they will start producing vitamin D.
Oh.
That when you eat them, they have more vitamin D in them than they had before. And it's really interesting. And I know you don't like them, Angela, so the interesting thing is, for me, is that they grow in dank, damp places. But they have this amazing capability to start producing vitamin D when they go out into the sunshine, or when their sunshine is available to them. We do that too. We go out in the sunshine, we start producing vitamin D. We don't really get it anywhere else to a certain extent. Some foods, yes. Usually the foods that people don't like to eat, like brassicas and things like that. But now we've discovered that mushrooms
prefer
have
that
it
to
too.
mushrooms.
Well, you are so weird.
Thank you. I'm going to take that as a compliment.
But yes,
That's
it's
my
a compliment
choice.
coming from me. I think being weird is absolutely magic. I think it's the best thing in sliced bread.
There is a magical weird, right?
Yeah.
But weird can be spelled differently.
Yeah, WYRD.
WYRD.
Mm-hmm. That's the word, weird.
Yep.
Jennifer, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I love the idea of changing our mindset, and I think that that's a really important piece. I also recognize that, when you talked about like reticular activating system, and when we talk about reticular formation, right, we create these patterns, and then the mind decides what's important and what it needs to focus on and what's not important. And so what ends up happening is when we hyper focus on the issues or the problems, we miss out on all of these wonderful things that could actually help change our mindset and bring us forward. So I think that there's a balance that has to happen in honoring what I'm feeling and allowing it, if there is an impact, right? It's a rainy day and this is my pattern, that on a rainy day, this is how I feel. Then we want to look at, how do I change this pattern within me, right? How do I, as you were saying, you know, look at it and go, this rain is cleansing. I love the rain. I love to go puddle jumping with my kids, right? So there are these kind of things that we can do to change it. But I also think that it is important, if we are sensitive to it, to recognize that and to hold space for that. So that on those days, we're not going, what is wrong with me? Why can't I do it? We can just go, okay, this is a belief that I have, that I'm following right now. What do I need to do for myself? Right? Do I need to change it right now? Do I need to give myself some compassion and rest? Do I need to give myself some grace? Because I'm working on it and I know I'm working on it, right? So just to be able to be really present in the moment and go, okay, what do I need right now? Right? And then move from that place so that we don't bring in self-judgment around it either, because now we're just compounding the problem.
So yeah, compounding the problem, that is the thing. I'm actually being woken up at 5 o'clock in the morning these days with a blackbird who is very happily chirping away outside my window. And thinking about it, these guys wake you up in the morning and they send you to sleep at night because they're there, the sentinels of dusk and dawn. And they don't really think about what's going on, whether it's this, that, or the other. The only thing they have to worry about is predators, really. Is it that our lives have become so convenient with central heating and nice big thick curtains and lovely soft beds and all the rest of it, that we've kind of come into we're being spoiled a little bit. So we don't realise that puddle jumping and going out in the rain is a good thing, because actually coming back from it, and this is the interesting thing, coming back from the place where you're cold, you're wet, you're absolutely drookit, you haven't got a single eyelash on your face that isn't plastered somewhere. And it's like, but you go in there and you go into the house and it's warm and you get all this stuff off and you get a nice hot towel and you get a nice cup of hot chocolate or a bowl of porridge, as I used to get. And you know, you get warm. And then that just happened. It's something that's in the past, something that's not there anymore. You got through it and now you're nice and comfy and warm again.
Well, then don't we
So-
have to have those opposites in order to appreciate them,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like, so being really, really cold and then coming in and wrapping yourself in that blanket, we appreciate that blanket so much more because we've been cold. So we appreciate the differences because of that.
And it does bring
So-
back some good memories as well. So perhaps those are things that could be used as well. You know, what have you overcome to get to be in this warm, lovely space? What have you done to be able to, like Mary's sunshine bubbles? I think that's a great idea.
Me
I think it's
too.
a great idea. I did have a picture of sunrise on my wall at one point when I was in the midst of an SAD, and it helped a little bit, but only when the light was on. So,
Well,
I think
the
the
other-
gratitude's got a thing to play with. Sorry, Mary.
No, go ahead.
In my days in the police, when I used to work night shift and it was cold and it was raining and it was miserable, I could look forward to something because my wife at that time, don't look at my wife unfortunately, she would put my electric blanket on my bed. So I'd come in cold, wet, and miserable, but I knew that my bed would be warm and comfy, right? And I look forward to that. I was going to say something rude there, but I'll say it anyway. It was nearly better than sex, right? Going into that warm bed. It's just fantastic. And what Tanys says, you hold on to the thought that this too shall pass. This night shift will finish, and in another hour or whatever it happened to be, 2 hours, I'll be in my nice warm bed. Something to look forward to and be grateful for. And as you said, Leslie, when you're cold, wet, miserable, and you come in and you get that warm towel, or you get that warm cup of soup, you think, you know what, that was shit, but this is actually not too bad. Right? So if you bear that thought in mind, 99% of the time, this is not permanent. It's not going to stay this way forever. There will be something to look forward to. Maybe a wee whiskey at the end of the night to warm you up. So be grateful and bear in mind that more or less nothing's forever, and things will get better.
I'm just
One
going to
thing I
swap
think,
out that whiskey for a hot chocolate.
one thing I think as well, looking at sort of the opposite way, is that come from a country like Scotland where we're used to having rain so much of the year, same as Marion Island, that you actually get people when it is really hot and it is really great weather, all you hear them moaning about is they can't wait for the rain to come back. They can't wait for the cold to come back because they're just not used to that heat. It's great for a day or two, but if it's prolonged any longer, oh, I don't like this anymore. And you went, so when are people ever happy? Because when it's the winter, they want the spring. When it's spring, they want summer. Some they want autumn. It's so amazing how people's attitude changes. And I loved something that Willie mentioned there because how I grew up with. The first thing I ever remember, one piece of wisdom advice from my dad was going to school, and it was a bit like Jennifer said, getting her wellies on, she called welly wee welly boots on, go out and play in the puddles. And my dad said, never worry about doing that, son, because your skin's waterproof. And he used to say, no one ever drowns from the rain. Right? You got that, you go out and play in it. And it's been as an adult when I go out and people say that, why do you still walk about in the rain? Doesn't it bother you? And sometimes when you're going somewhere, yeah, because sitting there with a wet clothes, I don't know if you're going. But as well as it on the way back, I don't mind rain at all because you know what you're going to get when you go home. So again, it is all about mindset and changing that. If it's too hot, you want something different. I had a person I met when I was over in Egypt, and they used to say they were so jealous of Scotland because they see the pictures of all the green, they see the pictures of the rain, and we don't get that. But we would never think that way. We think we want everything they've got. But you don't think, what about the people who don't have this? So their actual seasonal exposure affective disorder is actually the opposite from us. It goes another way. And every that comes down to mindset and just how you look at it. And that's why I loved what most people have said today. It is all about perspective. If you put everything into perspective and how you look at it, that's the important part. Find what really matters to you. Find what part makes you feel great. And that's all that matters. It doesn't matter if it's grey, if it's dark, if it's sunny, whatever it is. It's what makes you feel good that matters.
And is there a bit of the present, being in the present, staying in the present moment, something to do with that? Because all of this moaning about when it's wet or moaning about when it's too hot, has it got to do with casting into the future and casting back to the past?
Yeah.
So we're not actually staying still and saying, like Willie said, this too shall pass. I'm here now, but it will be different soon. Because we're always changing.
But people always wish their lives away, don't they? People do it all the time. I can't wait till it's something else looking, rather than just saying, I really love the way it is now. I'm going to enjoy what I am doing now. We do it all the time. It seems part of life that people always do it, wish it. Now, I think Mary did a great point earlier. Now, as I'm getting a bit older and wiser, I don't wish for anything like that. I just want to enjoy where I am just now. Not looking when I'm 21 or I was 18, I want to go for a drink. When I'm 21, I can do something, whatever it was. Now it's just about just enjoy what you've got at this time, this day, this hour, this moment, this second. That's important.
And I think gratitude plays into that too. Like being grateful for wherever you are, like looking at the rain and being grateful for something with it as well, right? Because there's always something to be grateful for in any of that.
Yeah,
Let's
it's
go back to
good not to live in the when-then situation of
something.
when I have this, then I will be. When I get this, then I will feel. Really? Make it now.
The I am.
I am.
I am. Yeah.
But the gratitude, I keep going on about this. I was in the hospital there. When was it? Last Thursday night with my sore ribs and considerable discomfort till they gave me the morphine liquid. It was great. And I was grateful for the doctor doing that to me. But I was also very grateful looking about. There are a lot of people worse off than me. I think this will pass. My ribs will heal and I'll be relatively okay. There were people in that room that I thought, you're probably not going to make it. Right? Lovely guys I met, an ex-copper, funnily enough. Right? And he and I both knew that he wasn't long for this earth, as it were. And just be grateful for the fact you're here and you're still here. And whatever the weather does or whatever anything else is within reason does not matter.
Yeah. Anxiety, etc., it is a future tense situation in both forms of the word tense. I just realised that worked so well. But it is, we are intense. The intention of being in the future, we are putting ourselves into a situation that hasn't even happened yet. We are putting ourselves into an idea of something that we somehow fear, and there's that other acronym, fake evidence appearing real, because it hasn't happened yet. Or even if it has happened and we're fearing it happen again, well, hang on a minute, you did that already. Why do you need to do it again? So this constant kind of, are we addicted slightly to the idea of being in tension somewhere? What is that doing for us? Jennifer, any ideas?
I love the idea of intention and really being intentional with what we're doing. You know, with so much of what's already been talked about, you know, looking, you know, at the day and whatever it holds, being intentional that you're going to hold space for it to be a good day, right? I think that we often, as you're saying, you know, we look at things and we deem them to be good or bad. And I love to quote Shakespeare with that: nothing is good or bad, but thinking makes it so. So can we actually sit here in this moment and go, okay, I'm okay. Whatever it is I'm facing, whatever it is I'm going through, I can take a deep breath right here, right now. I can be intentional. I can move through this. I am okay.
When someone says, oh, it's never as bad as it seems, and you want to slap them, you think, you know what? There is a grain of truth in that. Okay, things can be bad, but very often they're never as bad as they seem, because it's perception. And as Tony says, perspective. It's how you perceive the situation to be. And if you maintain perspective and keep the right perception, think, you know what? This isn't as bad as it seems. And the only way it gets worse is if you make it get worse. Because you think that way. Your thinking makes it worse, but it can also make it better. So it's not a question, I may be a bit flippant earlier on, it's not a question of snapping your fingers. It takes time and effort and a bit of dedication to change your mindset, to change your way of thinking, to get to the point where, you know what, I'm not going to let this bring me down. Am I always happy and cheery? Not always. Do I always look on things optimistically? Not always, because I'm only human. But I try my very best not to go down the negative route, and to see that the more positive, there's always something positive. No matter how bad things seem, there'll be a grain of positivity in there somewhere if you look for it hard enough.
Or if you've got the Scottish sense of humour, there's definitely, I agree, there's something to laugh about in there.
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely. We'll laugh at anything, really, won't we? Or find a way to. I was thinking there when we were talking about all of this about the Buddhist idea of detachment and how it can be thought of as I'm not thinking about it, I'm just keeping it as far away as I can. Actually, that's not the case. The detachment is not a divorce from, it's not a total ripping apart and staying away from anything. It's understanding that if you take a perspective of it, it doesn't affect you the way that you think it might. And Nick Hall, who is hang on for this one, psychoneuroimmunologist. Oh, yeah.
Well, that's easy for you to say.
Do you think? He actually came up with it, and he said he had been thinking about doing this thing about positive and negative thoughts. And he said, actually, it's not positive or negative. They have no charge until we give it to them. Until we actually put that charge into that thought, that emotion will come. And that will be it. That's how we're going to see the world, because we're standing in that position. We're in that charge. We're either positively charged or negatively charged in that moment. But of course, we can flick the switch. It's forgetting to remember to flick the switch. And there's a song called Breathe. Anna Nalick, I think her name is. And she has this verse in it, lyrics that say something about you're just as far in the tunnel as you are on the way out. And you'll repeat the same mistakes again because the only thing you don't do is turn around. And I'm kind of paraphrasing that there. the only thing you don't ever do is turn around. And this is it. We get blinkers on. We get into that tunnel. We see a light at the end of the tunnel. Possibly not that one. But we're going there. We're going towards it. Do we ever think that we can actually stop and turn around and, you know, find a little way that way or a little way that way? We don't, because we're kind of conditioned behaviorally to think there's only one way forward, and that's it. So, thinking of sad, and it's sad to think of sad in such a sad way, but it's seasonal. And if it's seasonal, it's not permanent. If it's effective, then it can be effective as well. And if it's a disorder, maybe diss that part and just have the order. Take back the way to order the menu from the menu of life. Think about Mr. Blackbird in the morning, sitting there quite happily doing his thing. I mean, he's early and he's late, but he's singing because he's telling everybody his story. And his story is to wake everybody up. When we wake up and we realise, like Willie was saying, we have choice. When we use what Mary says about actually visualising a new beginning, like a sunshine balloon. Tanys was saying, Jennifer was saying, Tony was saying, we're all saying the same thing in a kind of interesting manner, hopefully. That, no matter what it is, we have the capabilities to change it. What we have to do, perhaps, is forget that we don't like change, because actually, there's no point in not liking the inevitable, because it's going to come up and hit you in the bum sometime. Or the face, depending on which way you're standing. So just go there and understand that there are so many things that you can say yes to. There are so many things that you can say no to. You choose which ones you want that to be. So we're going to be seasonal and spring-like and spring off from this launching pad here. And we'll see you next time. And thanks to everybody who's been here today.